please do me a favor and just fail. Fail. Fail because the only time that you're going to be successful is getting uncomfortable and trying things you never did, and you're going to be expected to fail if you're doing things like that. And failure is a sign of success, right?
I agree.
And you need to fail. You need to get uncomfortable, but you got to take action.
All right. Episode 10, Mortgage Daddies, Couto Construction.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us, my man.
Yeah, man, it's truly an honor, and appreciate you guys reaching out to be on it.
Yeah, man, when we were thinking about, who would be somebody, the good local person that runs a successful company that is probably one of the hardest working, nonstop guys that always wants to be at 110%.
Never stops.
He never stops.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat.
You came
Just
to
kept
the
saying
top
that
of the
to me.
list.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, guys, and I'm wicked humbled to be here. And I speak the same for you guys, right? I mean, what I've seen, the trajectory of Milestone, I mean, it's business is business, right? You got that one denominator, that mental toughness, that character to just overcome and be determined. And yeah, it's definitely been some hard work, but I've been enjoying the ride. But I appreciate being here. So thanks for thinking about me.
I mean, we've grown a lot over the years, but I feel like Couto, even before I knew you, I've heard of Couto Construction. I always saw the signs around, the trucks around and everything. I think I played in a golf tournament with your brother, with a buddy of mine, Jay, Carl Dort. And that's how I met your brother years
Carl
ago.
Dort, yeah.
And then, I kind of got to know you guys. And, I remember seeing like a couple of pickup trucks. And then all of a sudden it's it's just everywhere. You guys grew like crazy. What really changed, or, what was kind of that catapult, or what makes you guys different?
Man, I love that question, and it's a question that comes pretty often. And for one, I think there's different levels in business, right? Like as you grow, there's these constant ceilings that you hit, and then you need to change and evolve. You can perfect your business at any scale, and then you always hit these walls, and that's when you need to grow. And I'm going to tell you the biggest difference that I can always say from a Couto perspective, what I can say for me personally that has been the biggest influence is I've actively and always sought out the best mentorships that I could. I am truly blessed to say that I can pick up my phone right now and I can dial the most successful people that I feel in this industry, in my industry specific, and they're all over the country. My network no longer is a local network, and I've always benefited from some local guys. I mean, a lot of great friends that I've always so thankful for. I always go back to some of my earlier mentorships is Mike Medeiros and Kevin Medeiros, the attorneys, their brothers. When I got into real estate, first started kind of getting into, developing, they were there. Ron Oliveira was a big part. Paul Fernandez was a big part locally when I started investing. But definitely 100%, I always tell anybody, seek mentorships. The second factor that I'm going to say that was a big role is action. I can't tell you how many conferences I go to all over the world, all over the country, and I see some of the same faces there. They recognize, we know we're going to see each other at conferences. And I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? Did you do such and such that you said that you were working on a big project? And I didn't quite get to it. One thing that I've had to benefit myself and my brother, we've always been determined. It's take action. Learn, come back, take action. My team knows when we go to a conference, they're like, okay, what are we doing? They're coming back with something new, something innovative. We're going to put something in place. So that's definitely the second factor that I would say. And third, doesn't matter the business, doesn't matter what business that you're in, it all comes down to numbers, it's metrics. KPIs, metrics, it's data. Learn what data points are the most effective for you, and it's about how can I affect those data points, the 1% that I can consistently increase. And if you break it down to those three simple rules, man, I think, it's not about if, it's just a matter of time that anybody can be successful in any business. And that's my opinion, that's been my experience. So
You just never stop being hungry, right? Like that's one of the things. And when you said always evolving, when you go away for a conference, you come back and your team's like, shit, Jay and Derek are coming back. People running a business need to be able to change on a dime. Like Craig knows, I'll come in and I'm like, it's time to eliminate that whole entire process. Like it's time to throw it away. And now he's gotten to the point where he just walks in my office. He's like, we're getting rid of this entire thing. Like, just toss it out if it's a system.
Like you cannot stay stagnant. Technology changes, people change. You cannot do the same thing. You cannot run a business the same way today as you could 10 years ago.
Bro, the passion oozes out of me when we have like-minded. I mean, I literally get chills as you're saying that because, there's so many great books out there, and I'm an avid listener. I'm probably good for 2-3 books a month, right? And there's a book called The Road Less Stupid, and the worst thing that you can hear in any organization when you ask them why you do this, and the answer is because that's the way we've always done it.
That's how the fire department is.
Dude, and it's because that's the way that is the worst thing. That is a trajectory for failure, right? AI, man, has that changed the landscape today. And I'm going to tell you, not just that. I mean, so many different parts of this business has changed and technology evolved. The customer demographic, it's ever changing, and you got to be willing to, I always say, when the wind blows, the reason why a palm tree survives in some of the harshest winters or harshest winds is it bends. You got to be flexible. You got to bend. And when the chimes come, don't be stuck in your ways. Sometimes it hurts. I mean, I've been hundreds of thousands invested in technology and CRM, building it and customizing it to just say, well, now we went in a different direction.
We've done the same thing.
But you got to, and it hurts.
Yeah.
Your ego takes a check because it's like, dude, this is going to be my life work. You think, this is going to be great. And then, but you got to pivot. You got to be
evolve.
smart.
And you got to execute. I mean, one of the biggest things that you said that really hit home to me is execute. You have to execute what your plan is, what you're going to do, and you have to stay dedicated to that. And too many people want to execute for a day, a week, a month. It takes a lot of time to get used to a change in a system, to get used to just operating differently. And nobody wants to do it because it's work. People get comfortable. People get lazy.
Comfort, right? The disaster. And it's funny because, I got a new girl who just started. She's going to be our marketing coordinator. And, one of the first things I'm telling her is, please do me a favor and just fail. Fail because the only time that you're going to be successful is getting uncomfortable and trying things you never did. And you're going to be expected to fail if you're doing things like that. And failure is a sign of success, right?
I agree.
And you need to fail. You need to get uncomfortable, but you got to take action. If you just keep waiting, I'm not sure, and I don't do it, which comes down to action. If you're not taking action, if you're not putting in the work, and you're right, man, does it get me frustrated. And it's also the key to that differentiates what I think, and I've seen lots of businesses, especially with my role with IHS and now mergers and acquisitions and all this kind of stuff. And man, when you're in a business, if you're not willing to take action, get uncomfortable, and really make the changes, and so many times businesses overlook that 1%, right? They think, it's just not that big of a deal. But that 1% over a long period of time makes all those differences. And for me, I chase every percent. I don't care if it's a 1% chance of making it better. Those 1% all add up. You find 21 percenters, you got yourself 20%. That makes a huge difference, right? So, yeah, I'm big, man. Those 1% are big for me.
Jesus. So you guys, I mean, just kind of going back to Couto, you guys have grown crazy. You see a ton. I mean, everybody knows somebody that does construction, but so many of those companies are two guys, one guy and some helpers. Nobody seems, or there's so many construction companies, in my opinion, that cannot seem to figure out how to grow a construction company. You hear the excuses, it's too hard to find help, to keep employees, to try to chase the money. You've figured out how to execute that, obviously, at this point. What was those big changes that you guys did? Because you weren't handed a company overnight that was hundreds of millions of dollars company that you just, okay, great, dad gave me the keys, I'm moving in and taking over. You completely changed your entire company.
Yeah, man, for sure. And look, when my brother Derek and I became partners in 2008, which great time to get into construction, right? That's when I partnered with my brother Derek. The business had already been running. And my dad, I love him to death. Great from sales perspective, good people person, really big on customer service, but he really taught us work ethic. But the truth is when we started the business, in about 2011, we found out that we were over $500,000 in debt, and we didn't do over $500,000 in revenue, right? That was literally the best thing that could have happened to us. Because the mental toughness, the resiliency that you build climbing out of that debt is biggest game changer for us. So, and I think that's where it starts. So many people, that's an excuse. And the reason I go to having the mental toughness is, yeah, you hear all the time, what if I train somebody and they leave? That's what happens all the time. I don't want to waste the time because then they just leave. But what if they stay? And yeah, I've gone through 10 bad ones before you find the one good one. But you do that enough times, eventually you start to build some good ones around you. The biggest thing is we're a training organization. I take a lot of pride in most of the people that are in the positions at Couto doing what they're doing today, never did that before. So we've taken the people who have the right attributes, the right values, the right character, the right character just, in assets, and then we train. We give them the tools. We give them the training and give some people the opportunity. And again, also, so often there's lack of good leadership. Strong leaders like to give away all the good, right? Give all the credit to everybody else, and also allow people to make decisions. It's an often thing I say in my organization that I learned this from a mentor of mine, George Headley, one of the many mentors I've had. Somebody comes and asks me a question. I know they're capable of answering it. I tell them, take care of it. Don't even tell me what you did. Don't even tell me what you did. At the end of the day, I can fix just about any problem. But what I'm going to learn, even if they make a mistake, is you bring them in. Hey, how could this have gone better? And they start to answer, and guess what? When they learn
better from mistakes. Than
best
when you
lessons
get
learned.
told.
I'm sure everybody that we can all sit here and talk about, man, some lessons that really changed us. And we hated it at the time, but thank God we learned those lessons, right? Mm-hmm. Dude, failure is a sign of success. Just fail fast, fail forward.
Yep. That's insane. So many things. I mean, we've only been open 5 years. You guys have obviously, you and your brother partnered up in 2008. Where do you guys see the business going in the next 5 years with all the changes in the market, the demographics, across the board?
For me, everybody gets into the economic situation, what's going to happen. It's an election year. I can't control those.
Yeah, uncontrollables.
I can't control the uncontrollables. What I control is what I can control. Look, I know I make X amount out there on X marketing source. I'm going to get X resource. That's going to change. It varies. The percentages change. So it's not always But I know I put X amount of money into this. I call it marketing being a gumball machine. I put quarters in the gumball machine, I'm going to get leads. I get those leads. I work with my sales team for one, doing things for the right reasons, making sure that we're a company of values, company of vision. So I guess moral of it, I can go on and on. I don't worry about the uncontrollables. I worry about what's in front of me. Right now, look, I got a game plan. We're budgeting. We're about flat, and we're pivoting, constantly pivoting. But where do I see it going to be going? Well, we're opening up another office in Tewksbury right now, and we're going to start working north of the state, and I'm going to keep grinding. Sometimes it takes a little bit more work than it did before, but you just keep grinding.
The fun, though.
Eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, repeat. You just put in the work and just constantly keep adapting. But for Couto, where do we see we're going to be in the next 5-10 years? Dominate New England,
That's right.
and we'll go from there.
You got to set that goal high, set that bar high. I mean, I think one of the things that separates in my mind Couto Construction, when I hear the name, and it's really turned into a brand, right? It's a brand, and that's what, as a leader of an organization like you are, that's what you want. You want it to be a brand. You want people to compare Couto Construction to everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, this is where we are. This is the material. This is the service. This is what you're going to get from us. And then those guys that Craig's talking about, with the 2 or 3 guys that's showing up with a pickup truck with no lettering on it, with, personal plates on it. It's like, you're a homeowner. Did you expect a different result?
Yeah.
With what you got? Like, you pay for what you get. So, I'm not saying that you're expensive or inexpensive, but I tell people all the time, I have a story. I wish I knew that you were going to be heading up north. I got some decks I'm throwing on at my house up in Jackson, New Hampshire. I always get 3 quotes. Typically I don't, but if I'm not familiar with the area, I don't know anybody, right? So I ask around a couple real estate agents, because that's the business I'm in. Hey, who do you suggest? I get 3 quotes. You got a quote at 50 grand. I got a quote at 35, and I got a quote at 19,000. The 19,000 is right out the window.
Yeah.
I never want to go with the bottom guy, especially
Yep.
if I don't know the area. I don't need to go with the 50. I'm like, what separates this price? It's like, I'm going to get the job done. It's going to be fast, nice, simple. You're not even going to know we're here. I go with the middle guy. I'm down 20, and I'm going to end up spending more than the top guy was. I came back and told Craig, I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't know if I'm ever going to, ask around. I'll probably get a couple estimates in that type of situation, but I'd always rather go with the brand that's been around a long time. They have a great reputation because somebody can always come in, and we get it all the time on the mortgage side. You get it all the time. Oh, why is your interest rate an eighth higher? An eighth higher. Let me break that down to you. Your interest rate is about a pizza a month in payment, and this is all the reasons for it. So that guy over there could be promising you the world. When you get to the closing table and your rate's a quarter higher, you can't call me. We're through that. I can't call that guy who had the highest possible quote and be like, can you come clean this up?
Yeah.
So the first contractor took me. I lost some money. He did some demo. That was expensive. Now I got another guy in there doing all the work, kind of cleaning it up, but it's more of a disaster. By the way, this has been going on almost a year. In the end of July will be a year working on 2 decks.
Look, man, first, what you're saying so hits home. And I got a similar situation. I just bought a place in Florida, and I'm going through a bunch of it. And I'm so understanding what's out there. And I'm going to tell you, I really just wish I had somebody like myself who can go in there and just be like, look, this is what it is. For one, I will never, ever be the cheap guy. The reason why is I'll match my quote apples for apples, but let's put them side by side and make sure we know what we're getting. Because what most of this industry is made up for, those couple of guys, they're racing to get to the bottom, and I'm on this completely other version where I'm trying to provide you as much value. You see, for one, 90% of the times, I can make up what the cost is just on the products that we use. Matter of fact, our supplier, they don't sell exclusively just to us, but they got products that nobody moves off their shelf but Couto. And we move that product 60% of the time. 60% of the time. Now, the reason we move that product is because we believe in it and we know the value behind it. But see, to so many, nobody even gets the opportunity to see that because they just race to say, how cheap can I get this done? And I'm going to tell you something. Here's some statistics about this industry that'll blow you away. Okay? So 12.4 million complaints come into the BBB. And we're getting waved on. I told you this can happen quick. And I'm going to tell you, out of those complaints, 80% of those complaints come into the home improvement industry. Mm-hmm. Okay? Out of those complaints, 3.4 million come into the roofing industry. More complaints come into this industry more than anything by more than triple.
That's crazy.
Okay? More than triple. 80% of those people who had an issue with their project, okay, most of them, trouble even getting the job finished. Mm-hmm. Some of them even getting it started, people running away with money, went with the lowest or second to lowest bid. So again, and it's not even like we all have the right intentions, but a lot of these guys, they get themselves caught in this rabbit hole where they're pulling from Peter to pay Paul. They don't know how to charge for a margin. They're not accounting for the correct workers' comp. And not to mention, God forbid, something goes wrong, right? Who do you think is getting that door, knocking on that door? And now you're putting your home equity, you're putting all that at risk.
I mean, you're trying to save a couple bucks, but at the end of the day, if you're hiring a construction company, it's a company, not just a carpenter.
Yeah, man.
And that's the biggest problem. When you hire just the carpenter who can do a good job maybe or whatever, but they don't know how to run the company, that's when you're going to run into issues.
Dude, and I say this one thing right here, and this is a saying I say all the time. True character is not defined by what you do when things go right, because that's easy. When things are going right, everybody can do what's easy. But it's what you do when things go wrong. And that's one thing that everybody in my company knows we stand behind no matter what it is. It's not about the money. We got to, the economics needs to be what the economic is. But regardless, we're always going to stand by doing what's right. And that's a culture that needs to go around. And for me, it's important. Maybe that 18-year-old kid that was maybe not brought in the most fruitful home with the right values, when he walks inside of our organization, he's going to know what those values are. And that's number one. And it's got to be relevant to our customers, but also not just to our customers, but also our customers to our employees. At any time there's missing those values, then that's the one time that I step in, and I try not to step in, but I stand strong on those values. And it's just a company based off of values, and that's a lot of the reason why I feel like we've been successful,
That's
or
awesome.
any success that we've had.
Awesome. Well, I know you got to run. I appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in
man,
and
for
squeezing
sure.
this in. I'd love to have you back another time because we have obviously a ton of.
We could do this all
We
day.
have a lot to
Yeah.
talk
Yeah,
about.
I've known you for a long time, and there's not too many people. Forget Mortgage Daddies and a podcast. There's not too many people that I like to just go crack a beer with and just talk about, because every time I sit down with you for 15 minutes or 2 hours, it starts making my brain work. Like, hey, what can I be
Full
doing
of
better
energy,
in
and
art?
it's contagious.
Dude, steel sharpens steel, and the truth is I like the same conversation. I love to hear and I love to see the success. I love what you guys are doing right now. Like, this is great, and good for you. And you know what? It's uncomfortable when you get started,
Yeah.
but good for you for getting uncomfortable, and that's why this is gonna be successful, and you guys are always gonna be killing the game like you guys are right
Jay,
now.
one more thing. I'm going to throw you off the cuff. We did not rehearse this, ask about it, but I have to ask you a serious question because you do bring so much heat. I got a lot of heat for the name Mortgage Daddies. Maybe at home, on the street. What do you think about this name, honestly?
Dude, man, you know what? I think it pushes the envelope enough to make it interesting enough for people to want to listen. And if you're
That's what
not
you
willing
need.
to push the envelope, you're not willing to get outside the comfort zone, then what are we doing, right? Oh, would you like to say mortgage gentleman? It is what it is. I like Mortgage Daddy because you know what? You're making this your baby. So
Yeah, let's
Awesome,
go.
yeah,
man.
let's go.
Well, you heard it here first. Jay Couto approves Mortgage Daddies. That's the name.
I'm in.
We're rocking it. We'll see you next
Run with
time.
it.
Thank
Yes.
you.
All right.
Peace.
Take care.